please subscribe and don't forget to press the bell icon to get notified whenever we upload a new video.
Hi, welcome back to Bazaar Morning Call. Look at the markets there, come off from the high point. It's the banks that are really dragging the overall market. Now the Bank Nifty down 150 odd points. But let's talk about some numbers now. Bajaj Auto, the March sales have come in slightly lower than what the street was estimating. As Ravikumar, the President Business Development of Bajaj Auto, joins in to talk about that. Mr. Ravikumar, in your press release, you say that the export sales excludes 26,000 units in transit. Please explain what does that actually mean, and in terms of the run rate, will that get added next month? How does it work?
Exactly. I mean, in fact, this 26,000 units have been shipped out from our factories, but they could not, for some logistic and other reasons, could not get on board and cross the mast and then get the what is called as a master's receipt. And so for all practical purposes, this is very much in the pocket. And like you mentioned, that this 26,000 units should get added to April. Just to give the color, last year on 31st March, we had a small number of 7,000 units. That is more like normal. This is a bit unusual. This has taken the toll of the total number. And that is one reason. I would like to talk to you about also the domestic motorcycles. The domestic motorcycles retail has been quite good at almost about 175,000 units. There again, our factories could not produce enough numbers of CTs and Platinas because there has been a spike in the requirement of those SKUs from the marriage markets. We are just getting into that. So that again has taken its toll on the domestic motorcycle number. Actually, the total number should reach something like 370 plus. That is where it is. And going forwards, all this will get made up and will come into the numbers in April. In fact, April numbers you should see north of 400K.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Ravikumar. But nevertheless, March domestic sales at 2.03 lakh is lower than February. You have more working days in March. Is this a demand pressure that's abated? What's led to a lower month-on-month output?
It is purely our, to some extent, miscalculation of the SKU-wise demand from the marriage markets, and that has been quite corrected. If you see, actually, Q4, typically we are at almost about 175,000 units per month type of a rate, and Q4 to Q4, compared to last year's Q4, we have now returned a 20% growth. And going forwards, I think you will see right from month of April itself, in domestic motorcycle alone, will be good for 200K. Domestic three-wheelers will continue their run in Q1 very nicely, and for the full year again they should do very well because the Maharashtra permits are all going on quite nicely, and a few other states permits are getting in, like Karnataka and things like that. So we are good at 200K domestic motorcycles plus at least 35K domestic three-wheelers. Total put together 235,000 units domestic two and three-wheelers put together. Okay.
Are you facing a lot of pricing pressure? Have you cut prices for your products like the CT100 and the Pulsar 150?
Going into the marriage markets, and we have to play with the market, and typically in this season some action on price front is the norm of the market, and we are now playing a bit more aggressively in this market as compared to last year.
So how much have you cut prices recently, and are there more to go?
I don't think there's any more to go, but that has been quite factored in already. And on the back of that, we are expecting a very, very, very strong performance in the marriage markets.
There's a bit of a recovery in the markets. Recovery may be a strong word, but probably there's short covering at the lows. That's Ashok Leyland sales that's flashing for you, and it looks like a strong set of numbers, very strong. Of course, we're comparing with a year ago number which was weak, but still this is a strong 20% growth in Ashok Leyland sales. The stock, of course, has been reflecting all that for some time now. But there's a huge macro that we have to discuss now. As of yesterday, April 1st, the interstate e-way bill has been rolled out. Businesses and transporters have to produce an e-way bill while moving goods if the goods are worth over 50,000 rupees from one state to another. MS Money partner GST at Deloitte India and Rohan Shah, tax expert, join us now. Good morning, gentlemen. Thank you for joining. Well, Money, first up, how was, did anyone call and tell you how was the experience on 1st April itself?
Yeah, the 1st April experience, I must say, has been quite good.
Okay. In the sense not too many people were checked?
In the sense that yesterday being 1st April, I mean, it's not a question of, being All Fools Day. The larger issue is generally, typically in the first week of the month and the first Sunday of the month, countrywide dispatches of goods are in any case pretty low. One, because it's Sunday. Second, most people have completed what technically is called month end. So the month end got over on 30th, 31st. So in any case, dispatches would be lower yesterday.
Right.
I believe yesterday evening there was a press release which said that approximately 1,20,000 e-way bills got generated even on a Sunday. So I would be optimistic to say, yes, it's a good beginning. But my sense is whether the system works well, whether it doesn't work well, has to be mapped with two parameters. The first parameter is the fact that while in GSTN, we have 1 crore and 5 lakh people registered. 105 lakh people are the number of registrants on the GSTN portal. So these are people who are supposed to pay GST. This includes service providers, manufacturers, traders, everyone. The people who are registered on the e-way bill portal is approximately 11 lakh, which means around 10%.
Okay.
Now, does it mean that the remaining 90% do not have transaction in goods? They are all service providers, or all are below the threshold limit, or all of them transport goods which are below 50,000 rupees per consignment? I think we'll have to wait and see. So to my mind, one very good yardstick of how e-way bill is progressing would be that there was a bit of hesitancy in registering, because some people may have thought that it will get extended once again, so they may not have registered, and this is a separate portal. Over the next 1 week, 10 days, if the e-way bill portal registration shoot up, that's a sure shot that e-way bill is here to stay, and we are going to see good revenues coming from there.
Can the system handle so many registrations, or do you think that it could sort of crash? Because there were some talks that could be a big problem, right?
That's a very good question, and that apprehension is not misplaced, because on 1st February when it was launched before, the system did collapse. I mean, it could not handle the load. But a week before GST e-way bill launch, we had the GSTN going on record to say that they have a capacity to handle 75 lakh e-way bills per day, which should be the peak load, which again, to my sense, will get tested possibly in the 3rd week and 4th week of the month. That's typically where factory dispatches, dealer dispatches, all of them, pick up. And the first week of every month is typically a slow week, because people have just come out of the month end.
Okay. Well, Rohan Shah has also joined us. Good morning, Mr. Shah. What's your own sense? First, I mean, besides the smoothness, would you say a lot is at stake in terms of collections from the April e-way bill checking?
Two critical factors for me, Lata. One is the factor that you need an e-way bill now to support a transaction over 50,000. And as you were discussing, if the system is not robust enough at peak to support all these, then for the first time we will, in the real sense, be affecting trade and commerce. Because if the system doesn't support it, the issue is now not between compliance and non-compliance, it's between transaction and no transaction. So I think it's very critical for trade flows that, the system steps in, and we won't know the answer till it is subject to a peak load. The second situation is government has also been saying that, they see this as some sort of anti-evasion measure. And to the extent that people have to be accountable, they believe that collections will be more robust, and also the factor that there will be greater compliance. Now, when you're sort of looking at this, and numbers vary widely, while Money mentioned, that 11 lakh have come on to the GSTN network, some other government statistic I was reading sort of said it's 65 lakh. Now, we always have known that, figures in the context of GST have always been slightly less than accurate. My sense here is that if everybody comes in, there should be more robust compliance. The question is, what is the government anticipating? Their collection at peak has been 96,000 crores. Their collection at ebb has been 80,000 crores. Now, if they are expecting that e-way bill coming in will sort of add on another 10-20%, one doesn't know the answer to that. Because again, you have to understand that this is only a reflection of trade cycle. You can't have an absolute expectation and then say it's met or not, and therefore there is evasion. So to me, two critical factors. The system has to support, otherwise real-time trade suffers. Compliance and figures that you get should not sort of be mistaken as a measure for anti-evasion issues. You need to see that there is greater compliance. Figures will follow over a period of time. But I think having an absolute yardstick to say if I don't get this much, therefore there is evasion, may not be the best way to proceed.
Okay. The common argument we get from businessmen and from the fraternity is that the 50,000 threshold is too low and it needs to be revised higher. Is that your view as well?
Absolutely. In fact, I have said it earlier on your channel also. Really speaking, in the GST framework, there is actually no place for an e-way bill. Because large part of the information on the e-way bill, excepting very minor details, are already on the invoice. So why can't and the invoice is a document for transportation. So why is an e-way bill necessary? And until November, although GST was rolled out in July, there wasn't any discussion on e-way bill. I think the real discussion on e-way bill started when the tax collection started flowing down. So at a broad level, e-way bill may not be required as a complete long-term measure. It should not be a measure which is there for the next 5 years, for instance. Once tax collections pick up, when evasion loopholes are known, once people start paying taxes, it should go off. In that again, 50,000 certainly is very, very, low. Because what we are saying is 50,000 in today's context for movement of goods is, very, very low.
That point is taken. If you do the math of what the budget estimates are and what previous historical estimates are, we should get a little over 1 trillion a month. So, Mr. Shah, you think we get there, April or May?
It's hard to guess. But, my situation is, as I've said, some of these estimates have been a little way off the mark in terms of reality. But the e-way bill as a measure of sort of causing greater compliance and confidence, I think, will go some way. Many people have taken the view that it's unnecessary. My sense here is that, you will get a greater compliance, but to keep measuring the success of GST always on the threshold of collection may not be a basis. It's a massive change, it's a massive migration, and I think things will settle over time. The issue of saying here's a measure and here is the immediate impact in terms of greater revenue, I believe is not the right way to go. And I think they will have to give industry also a little bit of time to settle into this. And numbers, I think either which way, could be met, could be bettered. And I'd rather that they were bettered on more robustness of commerce and transactions than on the basis of more aggressive recovery mechanisms.
Okay. 1 trillion, April, May?
I think it's possible, but provided e-way bill is supplemented by 2 more measures, which I believe are on the anvil. I believe reverse charge is just on the anvil. And when the debate on e-way bill was settling down and they were determined all the system glitches had been overcome, I think the discussion within the policymakers on reverse charge has started.
Okay.
And if reverse charge rolls out, let us say from 1st of May, the way it was planned, and then we have invoice matching which rolls on thereafter, I don't think 1 trillion is too ambitious, because in the first month of GST rollout, we were at 92,000. So that's not too, difficult to achieve.
All right, we'll leave it at that. Mr. Mani and Rohan, thank you very much for joining us with your thoughts on how things might pan out. Well, the markets at the moment just holding on to the range. Actually, not a very eventful morning, except for the Bank Nifty where it has been negative.
Yes, in fact, a couple of more stocks that deserve mention. Lupin, the Canadian regulator, has issued a revised establishment letter for its Madhya Pradesh plant, so keep an eye out on that. And they've cleared Pithampur unit.